Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Now, if it's one thing we can say about us in Trinidad and Tobago, we like a little freeness. But the question, though, is that are you up for the challenge? This is the GovStack Women in GovTech Challenge 2026. And to speak about it a little more, or should we say in greater detail, I refuse to say in depth, we have a team lead in corporate communications and marketing at iGov, Nicole Greene.
The Women in GovTech Challenge is really, if we break it down to little bites, it's women who are working in the government or public sector sphere in the field of technology, typically related to digital transformation. So we're taking the concept of building digital public infrastructure, so like the highways and the roads that we drive on in your physical world, into the digital realm. So what are the components that we need to build out, the elements that we need to build out that digital public infrastructure, and then what are the digital public goods that sit on top of that, and how do we build solutions using those little building blocks that serve the community, that serve the nation, and position us as in our digital economy to trade with other nations around the world. So the Women in GovTech Challenge 2026 is an initiative from GovStack, and it gathers, it's the third iteration, so it's the third cohort. And these applicants who are selected will be part of an accelerator program, essentially, and will learn principles related to digital design or DPI design. And that relates to whether you're a solution architect, whether you're a project manager, whether you work in the legal field, and you put those skills together with others who work more in a technology coding capacity. And you put all these two streams together, the design and the development, and we work together to build some prototypes that can have real world applications and bring real change on a national level. At the end of the challenge, there will be teams or individuals that are pulled together, and their solution can actually be implemented on a national level. There are organizations who will fund this. There's an idea day at the end. Lots of good stuff going on. It's a 6-week intensive accelerator program. Really excited for women in leadership in GovTech. And we're trying to get together the biggest groups of teams that we can to take forward to this initiative.
And you say that, and it's blowing my mind because I see so many opportunities for connecting the dots that may be taking place in different silos, even starting from the ground up, because I think sometimes people don't necessarily put uh, digital work together in terms of physical infrastructure from time to time. There's some individuals who still are talking about, okay, well, AutoCAD is the thing and there's nothing else. But even like looking at how you would build something to future-proof. So this is the situation and the building codes and thing now, but looking at the way that climate is changing, looking at the way that we have more people, more roads, or more vehicle on the roads, we may need to build it this way with these potential codes in place. So even like combining all of these elements, I think is already mind-boggling to me. But I want to draw down on the aspect of women, thank you, in the sense that if this is geared towards women, should I ask about statistics where how do we know how large the gap is to then say, okay, well, we want this cohort to be involved. We want to increase the amount of women involved by this amount.
Okay, so I don't have specific statistics for you, unfortunately. But what I can tell you is, if you look around in Trinidad and Tobago in the GovTech space or just in technology, it's a known issue where women are underrepresented in the workplace. Now, I'm lucky enough to work in iGovTT, where this is something where we have women in technology across every unit in the organization. Our chairman is female. I'm, head of corporate communications and working in bridging the gap between technology and communications, and I am female. We have we have good representation here, but we can recognize that there are ideas that are brought forward when you have this holistic way of thinking. We know that representation is important. We know that the wider the opportunity, the wider net you cast for having those different spheres and different perspectives brought in, the greater the success or the chance of success of your solution. So it's definitely important to get the views of 50% of the population in there. It's a nice statistic. And not just for women, but women as mothers, women as working in the workplace. We have something to bring to the table as persons who will benefit from these solutions, as well as persons who would be building out these solutions. We want to get those perspectives in. When you think about a lot of organizations from before this, I was in banking, and that is an organization that is, again, very male dominant when you think about leadership and whatnot. And then when you get down into the support areas, you're looking at very much the women run the operations and the back end and the support, right? That's a really important perspective. And when you think about building out designs that have to work, support our digital economy, that need to support just the way that we live our lives. You may have someone from the legal from legal. I keep talking about legal, and there's a reason for that. You want to make sure that the solutions that you're building aren't going to fail on delivery because you haven't considered things like legislation, privacy laws, security, etc. So all elements are important, and some of those fields are very much women, female dominated, but you wouldn't necessarily think about linking them in the technology space.
And one of the things when you talk about linking, I want to uh, ask you about partnerships because it seems as though there are a great deal of international players. We're hearing some big names. So
Yes.
who are some of those big names?
Okay, so we have GovStack, and they work in the sphere of building out digital public goods. So those building blocks, those like Lego blocks that fit together. One piece might be like a consent module. One piece may be an appointment system, login, etc. So those blocks that go together, that's GovStack. They help organizations around the world build based on those building blocks. There's World Bank, who's providing funding for this, for these opportunities. We talked about those ideas that are getting to the end, and if they may need implementation, you have a partner like World Bank who's getting involved. We have DPI safeguards. It's really important to have those DPI safeguards built in by design, building safety, building ethics into your solution by design from the start. That's part of the UN and UNDP DPI Safeguards Initiative. And we have the University College of London. They are our academic partner, and they provide the certification at the end of the course. So this is an actual, everyone is going to get either a certificate of participation or a certificate of completion. And because of the caliber of the partners and the quality of the mentors and education that you'll be getting and the exposure, it really is a certificate that is worth something and meaningful. And then we have open source ecosystem enablers. It's really, it's a big deal. There's a lot behind it because there is value to it. It's really important. Not just the concept of DPI and digital public infrastructure, but women in this space.
And with that, we want to let that breathe for a moment. We take a breath to take it all in, and we return to the conversation. We are speaking with the team lead, Corp Comms and Marketing at iGovTT, Nicole Greene, about the GovStack Women in the GovTech Challenge 2026. Stay with us. We return after this. Welcome back. We are speaking with team lead in corporate communications and marketing at iGovTT, Nicole Greene, about the GovStack Women in GovTech Challenge 2026. And so we've gotten a lot of information thus far. I want to ask though, looking at the fact that you are trying to build these teams and these cohorts from different places, is everyone going to be doing the same exact thing? Or are there different streams of expertise that would be factoring in?
That is a great question. So every team that works as part of this accelerator will be working on their own product or solution that they come up with together, but the team will be comprised of persons who are interested in either the design or the development track. On the design track, you will get exposure to learnings and guidelines as far as policy development is concerned, agile project building, et cetera, et cetera. When we get into the development stage, we are talking more about those technically minded persons. So again, it's not a prerequisite. You don't have to know how to code. The policymakers, you'll be guiding things through to wireframes, etc. And then you're going to be working with persons who are more comfortable on the development side.
And I'm also asking about parameters for rollout. And are there any safeguards? What are some of those elements that will help? Okay, well, this is what we're working between. Because yes, and I'm very glad that you say not everybody needs to know how to code, because different people have different areas of expertise. But what are some of those things that just making sure that everything is copacetic, as people like to say?
So you'll have your mentors. Every team will have your mentors. You're intended to attend a 1.5 hour roughly live session per week. Then you have office hours with your mentors. You have group projects that you work on. So there are learnings built into the structure of the course. And you're supported by 300 plus women who have gone before you. This class will try to build out a cohort of 180. So there'll be cross skill sharing as part of the building as part of the accelerator program.
I think even whether or not you get a certificate in participation or certificate in saying that you went to the head of the class, this is something that just is building capacity in this space. And with that and building that excitement, how do people apply? Because it's one thing to say, okay, well, yes, we know what it is, but in terms of like that access point to say, okay, well, I want to be part of this cohort of 180, you say?
180 around the world.
Wow.
So there is competition, but you should not be discouraged. If you have an interest in, if you have an idea for a solution that you think will help our digital evolution as a country, Trinidad and Tobago, please join Team TNT. You can go to the website for the Women in GovTech Challenge 2026. It's on the GovStack website. You can also find it on iGovTT social media. Links to apply. And if you have any questions or you want to consider teams that you can be part of, you can feel free to email our corporate communications unit at corporatecommunications@igovtt.tt, and we will help place you into a team.
Everybody wants a leg up, Ms. Green. What are some of the things that may help your application receive a little more consideration? Is there, you need to be coming from a certain place, sector, area, have certain interests or skills?
You should have either demonstrated experience or interest in GovTech. So in digital transformation, it does not mean that you have to have worked in technology, but you should have demonstrated interest. You will be asked for your LinkedIn profile if you have one. You'll be asked to submit your resume, so that's part of the application process. But feel free to, pitch yourself, your idea, your interest, your passion, because that's what's going to make you stand out. Your passion for change.
I also want to start to help weed some people out already. And because sometimes there's an idea that is great and you want to be a part of it, but then when possibly you get through, you realize, but woo, there's a little more than a bargain for. So in terms of investment of time, which I guess
Yeah.
through the pandemic, we've realized, okay, well, there's a level of currency with it. How much investment in time will be needed on, I guess, a daily or weekly basis for something like this?
Okay, so on a weekly basis, roughly about 4 to 6 hours commitment. Like I said, that 1.5 hour live session, you need to attend 3 out of the 6 of them for the 6-week program. So at least half of them you have to be able to attend. And the online classes are meant to be flexible. We are aware that we are working with working professionals. However, this is a global program. So the time zone is, time zone thing. Be mindful of that. You are going to have to do group work. That's about 2 hours a week that you should dedicate to that. So 4 to 6 hours per week for a 6-week commitment. You do have to be committed to it, but the payoff is so good if you're accepted and you're able to go through this accelerator system.
And so the person who says, I have my own group, I want to register that group, I want to apply with the group, versus the person who says, well, I think I have these skills and I'd be a great teammate. Can you put me into a group?
Yes, you can definitely either apply directly on the website as an individual and you'll be placed into a group. If you want to be part of the team TNT that we're putting together, you can email the corporate communications unit. If you have your team already and you want to apply yourselves, you can feel free to do that directly on the website. You're going to need everybody's information, their interest, their CV, their LinkedIn profiles, etc., to submit your team application. But we do encourage you to do so. The deadline is December the 7th, which is a Monday coming up. So we're running out of time. Have your conversations today, link up, share the news, talk to people about it, and get your team together by tomorrow. I would say over the weekend, meet up, come up with your ideas, and get things rolling. Have your application in by Monday.
And I'm not going to ask for things for gentlemen specifically, Ms. Greene, but what are some of the other opportunities that iGovTT is really excited about and individuals should be going to the website, going to the LinkedIn page to find out more about?
You can always reach out to iGovTT and be part of our digital evolution of Trinidad and Tobago. We have just express your interest. Let me give you an example. We had a young gentleman who is at UE who keeps track of the things that we are doing and has sent us emails indicating that he'd like to be interested in things that are coming up. We've included him in focus groups that we've done in designing some of our solutions. And we've also included him and invited him to live events that we've had, etc. So if you're interested, there's always space. Keep in touch with us, corporate communications at igovtt.tt. We want to hear your voice.
And we want to thank you for sharing your voice and your insight on this episode of In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Ms. Nicole Greene, Team Lead for Corporate Communications and Marketing at iGovTT, speaking specifically, though, about the GovStack Women in GovTech Challenge 2026. Remember, the deadline is December 7, 2025. So the application window is closing. So don't take long and play longer. But we want to thank you. And on behalf of everyone at TTT, thank you so much for joining us.